into the pocket, lobs one downfield for Adams at the goal line, over his shoulder, touchdown! Derek Carr racing forward on a beautiful ball for 48 yards.
They take the snap, feed Akers through the left side, into space 10, lowers his path at the 5, extends the football goal line. That should be 6. Touchdown, LA! Cam Akers.
Getting you ready for NFL action with information, advice, and entertainment. The Game Day Playbook presented by FantasyAlarm.com on Bettor Sports Network.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. This is the Game Day Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm on the Bettor Sports Network here for Week 6 of the NFL season, and it is going to be a pretty big day here, James. A lot of big news around the league to get to. We're going to go through and answer your questions today. We're going to break down each day's matchup. It is also bye weeks here, James. So we have a couple of teams that are not on the slate. We know that there are going to be plenty of start-to-state questions when it comes to trying to replace some of those players in your lineup. So make sure you go to your app store, Google Play, iTunes, download the Bettor Sports app, subscribe, click join show, get your questions in, get us over on YouTube as well. We'll be following along there, getting you guys ready for today's slate. But James, man, welcome. This is your first Game Day Playbook with us, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. Nice, interesting slate. We got news. People are going to be traded. We have the lowest, smallest main slate of the year so far. So jumping into the fire, but excited, and hopefully I can make Coop proud and maybe, even whisper some tight ends in some people's ears today and make Coop proud.
You gotta usurp him from his from his tight end whisperer realm there. We'll see. Obviously Coop, shout out to him, got married last night. Congratulations, as we have there as well. So James filling in this week. We'll be good. We'll get it going. And like I said, follow us on the app. Get us on Twitter. Get us on YouTube, and we'll be ready to go. And follow us all day long. We have a big day worth of shows coming up after the Game Day Playbook. We have the pre-gaming with Front Yard Fantasy, Simon, Joey, and JL from 11 to 1. 1 to 5, we have Bettor Zone with Corey, Adam, and Tom. And then from 5 to 8, we have Bettor Zone with Holden Kushner and Greg Leonard. So a big day here on the show. And at the open there, you heard some of those highlights from the Cam Akers for a touchdown. We'll see if he's still with the Rams come next week. From your Rams Radio Network, Devontae Adams on the Raiders Radio Network, and Stephon Diggs for the Bills Radio Network. Could be a big day for Stephon Diggs here in the Bills and their matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs, one of the higher likely stacks in DFS this week, James.
Yeah, I think that game in general, I think 2 games stick out to everyone. The only 2 games over 50 in Vegas. But yeah, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, currently projected to be the 2 highest rostered players at their respective positions. It's going to be a big game. It's going to be a potentially preview to who's going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. So it's going to be a fun one. And maybe this time against the Chiefs, we get Stephon Diggs involved. Last time it was strictly Gabe Davis. Right. Maybe we get Stephon Diggs a little more involved here.
Yeah, obviously we look at Gabe Davis in DFS this week. He's priced up a little bit more than he had been, obviously coming off of last week's monster performance. But if you go to Fantasy Alarm and you use our draft percentage forecaster, the expected exposure on him is low in terms of the relative other top plays in that matchup, which is a little bit surprising because obviously last year against them in the playoffs, he had 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then last week he's coming off of his big day there. So we'll continue to talk about the top matchups for the day. Obviously Buffalo, Kansas City, Arizona, Seattle are 2 of the big ones that I'm sure everybody will be looking to be dealing with here this week. But we have a lot of other news, a lot of top news stories going around the league here, James. Yeah, we talked about at the open that Cam Akers touchdown. We don't know if he's going to even be a Ram moving forward, right? There's reports that he's going on the trade block. There's some philosophical differences apparently and how they're using their running back rotation. And Akers, I would imagine, wants to be a 3-down back, and McVay isn't really feeling that. Obviously, the Rams' offense this year is outside of Cooper Kupp has not been very good. I'm sure a lot of that plays into the frustrations as well. But, what are your thoughts on, 2 years ago, everybody was excited at Cam Akers to be the next big back, gets hurt, doesn't look great coming back from the Achilles at the end of last year, obviously off to a really slow start this year, and now he may be done until they trade him.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to be in Cam Akers' position right now because, I mean, he's 23, so obviously, like, he has that going for him, youth on his side, but coming off the Achilles, it was amazing to see how quickly he came back, right? That was like holy cow, how did he get back so fast? Like, that's unheard of. I mean, he just hasn't looked the same. The explosiveness hasn't looked the same. He's not really good in the passing game. So, you know, when you have a Daryl Henderson, you're going to get taken off the field. So I imagine he views himself as that 3-down back, as you mentioned. At just 23, I think there's room for him to be the guy we thought he was going to be his rookie year, but there's nothing suggesting it right now, just with his explosiveness kind of lacking and where he is in the situation he's in. So we're going to get Daryl Henderson moving forward and sprinkle in some good old Malcolm Brown, right? Because we love that. With the Rams. Oh God, it's always the best to see Malcolm Brown snipe some touchdowns. But yeah, I think looks like Akers' days in Los Angeles are numbered, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're already getting some questions in here, James, and a couple of them are pertaining to the situation in Indy. Getting the game wants to know who totes the rock at Indy today. And then Kate, the Colts fan over on YouTube, wants to know Dion Jackson or Jeff Wilson. That is because Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines are not going to play today for the Colts against Jacksonville here. Where are your thoughts on that running back situation in Indy? I know you had tweeted some things about Dion Jackson earlier. I think Philip Lindsay's still in the mix a little bit there as well in Indy. Which way are you leaning? And if you had to pick one to help out Caden here, Dion Jackson or Jeff Wilson?
I mean, so the second question, it's Jeff Wilson.
Yeah.
For sure. Jeff Wilson's, 15 plus touches last 2 weeks, 75 plus yards in 4 straight games. And it's a great environment for Jeff Wilson there. Now, I think Dion Jackson is very viable, and I think he is going to, shoulder the load. If you look at last week against Denver, after Nyheim Hines went out in that first drive, Dion Jackson played 46 snaps, 26 routes, which I think, we love to see. Indy's been throwing the ball a ton. Matt Ryan has 37 attempts in 4 of the 5 games he's played. And he had 13 carries too, comparably to Philip Lindsay. Lindsay played 30 snaps, so Jackson has him plus 16 there. Only ran 13 routes. We know Lindsay is more of the, between the tackles running guy more than he is so in the passing game. Only ran 13 routes, did have 12 carries. So I think if you're desperate, Philip Lindsay's fine. Again, desperate, but a lot of injuries in the running back position. We have bye week. So the Philip Lindsay will be making lineups somewhere.
He'll get he'll probably get 10 carries, right? Like at the minimum, they'll use Philip Lindsay, and he caught the football a little bit in that game as well. But no, if you're picking Jeff Wilson or you're picking Dion Jackson, you're going Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson's actually one of the players I put in my prize picks video. You can find that over at Fantasy Alarm this week. We've hit the last 2 videos: Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, 2-0 in each. We got Jeff Wilson over 66.5 rushing yards there today. So we'll see if he can get that done in his matchup against Atlanta. Matt Rule got fired in Carolina. Changing of the guard there now. They've also fired their defensive coordinator. Getting the game wants to know, do you foresee Carolina maybe resting CMC? We've seen some rumors of a potential trade. Or at least an inquiry from Buffalo saying the availability of McCaffrey. We've heard reports that basically everybody in Carolina is on the trade block. So I don't think that they're going to rest McCaffrey, but do you think maybe they limit him a bit to preserve him going into a trade deadline?
Maybe if he picks up an injury during a game, but if he's fine and running well, I don't see a scenario where they rest him. They're also they want other teams to see Christian McCaffrey healthy, right? And see him continue to look like the guy he has in the past when he's been healthy. So I don't see a scenario that he's rested. Maybe if they're getting blown out, which is obviously always a possibility with Carolina, maybe we see a little Donta Foreman, but and I think if it's a competitive game, we're going to see Christian McCaffrey on the field.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard, Donta Foreman probably finding their way.
Yeah.
The problem is we haven't seen a situation where either would be called on upon for a large sample size. And if you go by box scores, they basically get 1 or 2 carries, or they don't see the field at all. So it's kind of difficult to judge who would be that next guy up. I would feel like Chuba would have the edge, but they did sign Donta Foreman in the offseason. So again, another situation continued to monitor there. With the Panthers, and they have their matchup this week against the Rams. When it comes to DFS, you and I, we like actually the Panthers defense this week.
Yep.
We thought we were being a little bit different. Again, if you go to the draft percentage forecaster over at Fantasy Alarm, you got to be an all-pro member to check it out, but we'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek on it. Carolina expect to be one of the higher roster defenses in DFS this week, despite being the lowest price defense over on DraftKings this week. That's just the state of the Rams offensive line. The Rams quarterback situation, basically any receiver not named Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee. That offense is kind of a bit in shambles there. So, again, we'll continue to see how that one plays out as well. The Saints are dealing with a lot of injuries today, James. They may be without all 3 of their top wide receivers. Olave is a game time from what I've seen, but not expected to play per Schefter. Landry and Michael Thomas are already out. Andy Dalton is starting, even though Jameis Winston is maybe active, which is weird to me if that would be the case. Are we getting another Taysom Hill? Is that what we're doing today? Is it a Taysom Hill day again?
There's no question it's a Taysom Hill day, right? It just lines up so perfectly for Taysom Hill to do whatever he wants. He probably designed the whole playbook this week. He probably oh, nobody's in. Okay, well, what else other options do you guys have other than me? We're going to see Taysom Hill. He's extremely viable in seasonal fantasy just due to the lack of depth at tight end. And, what can we say at this point, John? They don't have receivers. They give Taysom Hill every goal line carry imaginable.
All right.
He's throwing passes, singular pass,
but it was for a touchdown. So,
but it was he's going to be featured in the offense, even if he only plays 20 snaps.
Right.
But
on FanDuel, would you dare play him at tight end this week? On DraftKings, he's quarterback only, so you're not playing him there. But on FanDuel, where the tight end position is kind of like Kelsey or Andrews at the top, maybe a little Taysom Hill dart, given sort of the situation that they got going on there. So,
I don't know. I think you have enough at the tight end position. The first 4 weeks of the year, every winning Millie Maker or the top 10% of the Millie Maker had either Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews in their lineup. Taysom Hill is the 3rd highest priced tight end on FanDuel. When you have guys like Zach Ertz in the best matchup for tight ends on the board. You have shout out Coop, Evan Ingram with a beat up wide receiver core in Jacksonville. So I think there are other options than a $7,500 Taysom.
I agree. There. We got Roto Buzz guy in the chat. Howard, we did not do the chicken dance or the electric slide or anything like that at Coop's wedding last night. The dance floor was bumping. I'll tell you that. It was good times there at the Coop wedding, but no organized dances there. None of that went down while I was there. There was a game of dodgeball that broke out though, but we can talk about that story at another time. So we do have a ton of questions here, James, and guys, we're going to get to a lot of your questions during our sort of game preview breakdowns that we're doing, but early on here, we'll get a couple of them for you since we've mentioned some of these players already in their situations. Super challengers over on YouTube said pick 2 for PPR, Mike Williams, Michael Pittman, or Christian Kirk. We've talked about the situation with Indy, no Jonathan Taylor today. And then, of course, you've mentioned the beat-up wide receivers in Jacksonville, but Kirk was a big disappointment last week. We saw Marvin Jones lead that team in targets and receiving yards last week, while Kirk had about a catch for 11. Pittman didn't play in that first game against Jacksonville. We'll see how he can do this week, but if you had to pick 2 of those 3, Mike Williams, Michael Pittman, or Christian Kirk, how would you play it?
I'm probably sitting Kirk. I like the spot for all of them, but I mean, Indy's going to throw a lot, man, with no Jonathan Taylor, no Naeem Hines. I mean, even if Hines was in the lineup, they'd throw a lot. Matt Ryan's throwing a lot. I think Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce are in for big days. So I'll go Mike Williams and Michael. I'll go with the Mikes there.
Go with the Mikes, yeah. I would go with the Mikes there as well. I'm not really, again, tough secondary for the Colts to kind of throw up against there. He also has another one we mentioned at the top, the Arizona-Seattle game. They're missing both of their running backs. Rashad Penny's out for the year. James Conner and Daryl Williams are both out today. Two of the more popular DFS plays. But he's got to pick one today. Would you, Benjamin or Kenneth Walker?
I mean, I want to start both.
Yeah.
Can we start both? I would say I will go Kenneth Walker, but it's like extremely close. I think both are going to obviously receive a ton of volume. I'll go Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker has probably bigger play upside. We saw it this past week on that explosion touchdown run. I'll go Kenneth Walker, but it's really close. And honestly, if you have both, like, you must have a very good team.
Or you
salute to you.
You were just very active on the waiver wire.
True. Or you're very active on the waiver wire.
Yeah. So like I said, we'll see what how that one plays out. I do like Walker because he also caught the football a little bit. I just don't see Benjamin being a guy that they hand the football off to like 15 times. He doesn't. To me, he doesn't feel like that's the type of player he is. I know they could have somebody else maybe handle a little bit of that load there. So we'll see how that one plays out. More questions, like I said, guys. We'll go ahead and we'll get to them as we sort of move along our game previews. We have obviously some more injury news, kind of dealing with your Giants and that receiving core here, James. Break it down for us. Who do you think is going to be active for today? How should we be valuing these Giants receivers?
So all reports are that Wandel Robinson is expected to play. But, we saw him practice all last week too, and then they ruled him out. They said he wasn't ready. So holding my breath at this point on Wandel, I'm hoping he's in the lineup. Obviously, that would be an injection of goodness that the Giants have not had at the wide receiver position all year. I mean, it's been bad. We're starting David Sills. He cannot create any separation. We had 3 practice squad receivers last week. So I think, like, if you're approaching the Giants receivers in fantasy, I do think they're viable to an extent. Like, Darius Slayton had a big week, played the most snaps he had all year. He would have had a monster game if he just turned his head on that crossing route. He would have taken 75 yards to the house. Still had a big game even without that. And if Wandel plays, I mean, he's going to be the guy featured in the offense. They took him in the second round. This is like the only guy that Brian Daboll himself and their staff, Mike Kafka, Joe Scone, brought in. Everything else is pretty much in-house. And in the preseason, they were talking about Wandel getting carries, kind of like maybe like a Curtis Samuel-esque, where Curtis Samuel in Carolina was getting 4 to 6 carries a game, and we've even seen that a little bit in Washington too, where he's had a couple games with 2 carries. So I like Wandel and Darius Slayton in 14-team leagues. I'd say if you're desperate, again, bye weeks and whatnot are going to. If you have T. Higgins, maybe you're a little worried about him if he's active, or Chris Olave. I mean, there's a lot of injuries at the position. So if Wandel plays, I do like him. If he doesn't, I mean, Darius Slayton actually does retain pretty good value. And even in DFS too, I think Darius Slayton's price tag is too cheap if Wandel doesn't end up suiting up.
Yeah, because he could end up being the wide receiver 1, like you said, for today. Yep. So and we've seen him have big games in the past. It's funny, like he had that breakout sort of rookie year, and then he just sort of tailed off as they brought in other talent, and that talent didn't work out, and now he's kind of working his way back up by default almost. Pat Freiermuth is out for Pittsburgh today. A lot of guys are out for Pittsburgh today. It's not going to be a fun day for Pittsburgh going up against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady in that offense, but with Freiermuth out, we do have another question here. Who's the best option to pick up and start in his place? Hayden Hurst, Irv Smith, Dalton Schultz, Evan Ingram, Tyler Conklin, Robert Tunyon, Will Dissing. I got to imagine it's probably like a 10-team league, but half of those names there. Which way would you go when it comes to that tight end position if you're replacing Freiermuth today?
I mean, I'd probably go Ingram. Schultz with the PCL is a little sketchy, and that's a tough matchup for him. Ingram, we know Marvin Jones is out. Zay Jones is dealing with the ankle. Expected to play, but still an ankle injury, and they couldn't get anything going offensively last week. I think Hayden Hurst is pretty interesting, but I think it's correlated to T. Higgins. If Higgins is out, maybe you lean Hurst over Ingram, but Ingram's been pretty consistent in the volume category. He's just not getting into the end zone. So I'll go Ingram and then Hurst second in that. Hurst probably more of a 1B if T. Higgins is ruled out.
Yeah, listen, I know Howard Bender was big on Hayden Hurst going into this year as well. And yeah, back-to-back good weeks for him, especially in that offense now where maybe T. Higgins is down a little. We're big on Cincy this week too, as a little bit of a pivot stack off the top DFS options. Squirrel Bob in chat wants to know, are these low-priced running backs, Benjamin, Kenneth Walker, Daryl Henderson, Dion Jackson, Devin Singletary, the locks for the RB spots stay in DFS so you could pay up for that Kansas City Buffalo stack?
I mean, I guess it depends on, your format, right? If you're playing cash games, yes. You're going to start, Benjamin, you're going to start Daryl Henderson, Dion Jackson, 2 of the 3 in cash games. Or if you want to, and you could do it in your tournament lineups. You and I discussed this on this week's DFS podcast, Sean. It's like, you can play chalk in tournaments, but you just have to be different. You have to have the 3% Josh Jacobs from week 4, right? Week four, Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Week 4, Josh Jacobs. That was 3% and then goes for 40 fantasy points. Or you can fade chalk. So I guess it depends. Like, you're definitely playing those guys in cash games, but everyone else is too, and everyone else is getting the KC and Buffalo studs. In tournaments, you can be different, and you don't have to just jam them into your lineup. And you and I built a lineup on our Fantasy Alarm DFS podcast where I think we only included one of those guys. So you depends on your format, depends on you wanting to be contrarian versus chalky. But yes, if you want to be chalky, if you're playing cash games, those guys are definitely in place.
Yeah, especially on FanDuel where a lot of the pricing is definitely a little bit tighter over there. There's a lot of higher price plays. Singletary is free over there basically when it comes to running back. So Benjamin's actually priced up over there. I haven't checked out the Walker or the Henderson spot. Henderson might be a little bit cheaper.
Same price as Singletary, John.
Singletary, yeah.
5,700 on FanDuel.
Yeah, so, I mean, those guys are certainly going to be more popular, I think, over there for sure, given the matchups and just the roles that they're expected to fill now. So, spending up at running back is going to likely be the contrarian play today, and that's something to sort of continue to take into consideration there. A couple more questions we got over on the YouTube channel. Needs to start 2 here. Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, Juju Smith-Schuster, or Alan Lazard. I know Pickens is in the playbook today for Howard Bender.
I mean, Pickens is getting a ton of volume. I'll go Pickens and Juju. I think although Juju hasn't been great in terms of volume or in terms of efficiency, the volume's been there and the matchup is tremendous. I think that game is just full of fantasy gold, and Pickens, much like Juju, volume. So I'll go Pickens and Juju. I have a feeling you're going to go Lazard over Juju, but
I mean, like, it's kind of hard not to want exposure to that game, though.
Right.
But my reasoning, you're right, though. My reasoning for going Lazard over Juju is that Buffalo's defense is actually really good, right? So, and we haven't seen that, like, big game out of Juju that I think most people were expecting when they were drafting him as high as they were in these drafts this year. Everybody kind of came in, they're like, he had 1,300 yards 5 years ago. This is the year for Juju. And listen, I bought a little bit of that, but Travis Kelce still exists in this offense, and he is the one.
He exists.
He is garnering a lot of those looks. CEH is getting a lot of those touchdown catches as well, and MVS is a guy that you and I are high on this week. So, again, that situation, Kansas City, it's kind of frustrating at times because Mahomes will throw to everybody and anybody. But also, when they get into the green zone there, most likely it's a 4-touchdown man. Travis Kelce is going to be getting the look. So we mentioned Devin Singletary already. Draco over on YouTube, Singletary or AJ Dillon. His flex options are Jacoby Myers or Alan Lazard. I think he needs to pick one of the running backs and then one of the three for his flex.
Yeah, I was going to say, technically, you could probably play
Both
whoever you don't pick at
to,
running back. Yeah.
I'm down on Dillon. I mean, the whole industry is down on Dillon, but if that count keeps dropping, and obviously you have Aaron Jones in a really good spot. I had him in the contrarian corner video this week. Again, nobody's looking to spend up at running back, but Jones could run for 160 yards today. So I don't mind that. But if I'm going Singletary or Dillon, I'm going to go Singletary there.
Yeah, I agree. And when you have Aaron Jones saying, maybe I should have gotten the ball inside the 1 yard line last week, like they're going to listen and they're going to probably give him the ball inside the 1. So I'll go Singletary. And I mean, we've talked about Jacoby Myers. He could ball with anybody.
Really good. Yeah.
He can ball with. We've been talking about Jacoby Myers for a while. I don't think people bought into the secret sauce last year and the year before, but he's legit, man.
He just gets better and better every year. It's just what it is.
Every year. So I'll go Jacoby Myers in that second.
When you're a really good route runner, like eventually you just sort of like if as long as you can develop your hands, which he's become a much better catcher,
right.
Like you're perfect. The problem holding him back, obviously, has been the quarterback play. But the last 2 weeks that he's been active for, big performances, found the end zone already this year, which is something that he was never able to do really in seasons past. So what is he, like a top 15 PPR wide receiver right now in terms of like points per game? So we'll continue to see how that plays out. Guys, like I said, we're gonna get to your questions. I know a lot of them are coming in to YouTube. We're gonna continue to break down today's top stories and headlines. But we also want you to join. Get in the show. Call in if you want. Get into our chat if you want. You got to do so by going to the App Store, your Google Play, iTunes. Download the Bettor Sports Network app. Subscribe. Click Join Show. And then you can come on with James and I and ask your questions live. You can get into the Bettor Sports Network chat and get involved there as well. Get some of your priority questions answered ahead of the regular chat that we got going on there. But you got to join. You got to be part of the show to be involved there. And you guys stick with us all day long. It's not just the game day playbook today. We have you covered all throughout the day and this morning. We have after us from 11 to 1. We have pre-gaming with Front Yard Fantasy with Simon, Joey, and JL. From 1 to 5, we have Better Zone with Corey, Adam, and Tom. And then again, 5 to 8, Holden Kushner and Greg Lannert all day on the show. So no reason to really leave the Bettor Sports Network today. Have it on during the day while watching your football games, while maybe cooking your food. James, maybe you got the chili on the stove, or excuse me, you got your wings cooking. Leave the Bettor Sports Network on. Get all the update and insight. Obviously, 11 to 1, you're going to have all of your inactives come out and really start making some of those tough roster decisions. You can also pay attention to our TikTok. I don't know if you're a big TikToker there, James, but the Bettor Sports Network has a TikTok as well. You can go ahead and find that and follow them over on TikTok as well. So no real reason to leave the Bettor Sports Network today and be part of the show there. I'm seeing some questions come in about Cam Akers. We've talked about this earlier, so I just want to hit those now. Situations and what to do, how to approach it. Brian Koppel wants to know: do you just drop Cam Akers, or do you hold on and see what goes on?
I mean, if the reports are that they're looking for a trade and they're just going to make him inactive, I don't know. I think if you need a roster spot, Cam Akers is just kind of going to not be viable anymore. Because if he's not playing, what's the point in holding him? And then if they're looking for a trade partner, where does he end up? Does he end up in a situation where he can be a 3-down back? Where do those even exist? Those aren't really available to anyone. Right. So I think the 2022 campaign for Cam Akers is pretty much curtains in fantasy, unless he does land up in a dream spot. But where is that? Maybe if Carolina trades CMC, could that be a spot? Is he in a CMC trade? That
would be interesting.
I mean, just realistic expectations when you look around the league. I don't see, if he goes to Denver, he's splitting with Melvin Gordon. If he goes to, who needs running backs, right? So I think currently where he stands with, even though he's just listed as inactive. I don't see a way you can, keep him on your roster if you need a roster spot.
Yep, I agree with you there as well. You don't want to hold on for the potential value because you don't know where he's going to go, if he's going to be even in a better situation. So if you're in a spot where you need to win today, you need to make a roster move, like I would be fine moving on from Cam Akers here as well. So when James and I get back, we're going to start up our game previews, and we're going to continue to answer your questions. So keep firing those in over on YouTube. Keep getting them in our Discord. Keep getting them in here on the Bettor Sports Network app as well. This is the Game Day Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm on the Bettor Sports Network. We will be right back.
Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Bettor Sports Network.
By the way, if you are a commissioner out there, if someone does not pay, that's on you at the end of the day. It sucks. That's why you have to get the money early, because if they don't pay, it's on you. You don't change the prize. A winner shouldn't be impacted because unfortunately you messed up as commissioner. And I've been caught with this before. I've made this mistake. It sucks, and I had to go out of pocket for it. You learn that maybe some of your friends should not be in that league. But Roan, we see it all the time with commissioner issues, and I can't stress it enough that when it comes down to league payment, it's on the commissioner if they don't have everybody's entry fee and someone decides to ghost them.
Yeah, I had to collect 36 entry fees this year. All of them were collected except one. And it was one of my friends who said he was going to pay the second. I forgot to remind him. He might even be listening, but I know he's going to pay. If not, I know where he lives. But nah, he'll pay.
Big brother Adam Rodas over here.
And even the guy that I've talked about before that usually always pays me at the end, he actually paid on time this time. He usually is like, I'll pay you on Friday, and then it doesn't come, and then it's 4 months later. And he always winds up paying. That's why I don't really get upset. But you've seen my emails. I don't play around. Like, no. This is the date. This is the date. You get it in by then. And I always, too, I'm like, the draft order will be determined when everyone pays. Right. So don't hit me up about the draft order. Once everyone pays, then the draft order will be done. And anyone who's been in this league, now Festy can't attest to this because he's never won money in my league, but the people who do win, they get it right away. Usually the next day or two. Just make sure the scoring, especially with football, no scoring changes, as long as it's not like a point victory, half a point, and then they'll get the money right away.
What about 2 points?
Yeah, wait it out just in case something crazy happens. I guess I don't wait till Thursday when the official scoring happens.
Yeah, man. A championship that I was in years ago got reversed, and I ended up winning on a Thursday stat correction.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
You hope I won.
you hope it doesn't come down to that. If you're on the better end of that, it's great. But man, imagine thinking you won, you got the money, and then it changes. That's tough.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network. The Game Day Playbook, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Welcome back in, everybody. The Game Day Playbook here, presented by Fantasy Alarm. Jon Impemba here. James, what's great?
What's great, John?
Winning prizes. And we have a giveaway here at the Bettor Zone Network, or on the Bettor Zone Sport Show on the Bettor Sports Network. Today, halftime of the Bills-Chiefs game, we're giving away a Marv Levy Buffalo Bills autographed jersey. Kind of a big deal there. And if you want to have an opportunity to go ahead and win that, you got to be downloading the Bettor Sports Network app. And be part of the Bettor Zone show today, listening live during the halftime of that. They're going to give out the signal to give you the call in and be part of the opportunity to win this Marv Levy Buffalo Bills autographed football jersey. We're also going to have other giveaways here this week as well. Monday morning at 11 Eastern, Moose and Keith are going to give away a Natron Means autographed jersey there. So big things.
Make sure you're listening into the Buffalo Kansas City. Everyone's going to be watching Buffalo Kansas City anyway, so I don't think that's going to be a problem to just tune in at halftime,
sure. So we got. There's really nothing better than going on with the when it comes to giving away free gifts. I know we gave out a couple of live jerseys on the first couple of weeks here. So we gave an autographed Ricky Williams jersey. We gave away a Patrick Mahomes rookie card. So we have a lot of gifts given away. But today again, halftime of the Bills Chiefs game with the Better Zone show, a Marv Levy Buffalo Bills autographed jersey there. So gotta get in, gotta download the app, go to your iTunes or Google Play Store, download the app, subscribe, join the shows during the day for your opportunity to win some pretty awesome prizes there. So as I said, James, though, we're gonna start breaking down our games, and these questions are firing in fast. So let's hit a couple of them quickly before we jump into breaking down this matchup between the Saints and Bengals, one of the more interesting games today, given the injury situations that are going on in New Orleans here. But we do have a quarterback question for Stafford or Lawrence today.
Oof. I know I shouldn't say this, John. I think they're like neck and neck in terms of where I'd rank them. I would probably lean Matt Stafford, but like it's close. Trevor Lawrence looked horrible last week, and his decision making in the red zone was even worse. No Marvin Jones, who was the only person he could connect with last week. We'll have an Ingram too, but I'll go Stafford, but it's very close.
Yeah, I agree with you there. We have another one similar: Stafford, Lawrence, Brissett, or Zach Wilson.
I'd probably still go Stafford there. I get Wilson is a little interesting, but I'll still stay with Stafford.
Yeah, it's a little interesting. Stafford has the best receivers in Carolina. I mean, we like Carolina defense for DFS purposes, but I mean, it's not like a great spot for them if that offense is able to play up to its potential there. So thoughts on Elijah Moore today? I mean, I'm fine playing him. I understand that Garrett Wilson's starting to move up the ranks a little bit there, but Green Bay hasn't shown me. I mean, they lost to the Giants last week, James. I mean, how good is Green Bay, right?
Whoa. That's the 4-1 New York Football Giants to you, John, just so you know. Everyone's losing to them. The Titans winning record, they've lost. The Packers winning record, they've lost. Carolina, we don't need to talk about them.
Right.
I mean, look, Elijah Moore and Wilson had a pretty good rapport last year. So I expect that to pick up. It's obviously a different offense right now with Wilson because they can run the ball as opposed to the first 2 weeks. They were just, Joe Flacco was breaking records with passing attempts. So this should be a game script where Wilson airs it out a little bit more, and that should only benefit Elijah Moore.
I agree with you there. All right, let's get into this. Bengals versus Saints. Saints are getting 1.5. It's a 43.5 game total there. Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry out. Chris Olave not expected to play. Most recent tweet I just saw, Jameis Winston is available, but as an emergency backup quarterback only, which means Andy Dalton is going to be the starting quarterback here for today. On the opposite side of that, T. Higgins is questionable. Obviously played a little bit last week, then ended up having to come out of that game. But this is an interesting spot here because we don't know what to expect from the Saints offense. We know Alvin Kamara is likely going to see a pretty heavy usage here today. Taysom Hill, unfortunately, is likely to see at least a decent snap share, just how they want to use him in this offense now, given sort of the lack of, maybe he finally gets a catch. Being listed as a tight end but no catches is always hilarious to me. Maybe they finally throw him the football there as well. But Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, those are two guys. I think they're both under $4,000 on DraftKings that are going to be viable DFS plays today.
Yeah, I'd even go a step further and say in 14-team leagues that you're desperate at receiver, I think Marquez Callaway could be an option. Look, 2 weeks ago, he had 6 targets in a situation that they needed to throw a lot, and they were trailing and they were down guys. Week 4, they didn't have Kamara. So maybe that's, a little pause for concern going like the Callaway or Traquan Smith route. But we've seen Traquan be a threat in the red zone before. He had a 100-yard game just a few weeks ago in his first game of the year. So I think they're both fine. It's funny how Kamara has a rib injury that keeps him out. And then we have the whole like week 4 debacle with like, should you allow your, owners to adjust their lineups if they had Alvin Kamara, but he comes back and he touches the ball 29 times.
Right.
I mean, that's going to happen again today, right? It's going to be a heavy dose of Alvin Kamara. So like I would temper my expectations with Callaway and Traquan Smith. They have a former first round great Kevin White is active today too,
Okay.
John, in case
Wow.
you want to.
I haven't heard that name in like 5 years, I don't think.
Yeah, he is min salary on DraftKings. Not going there, but he was elevated from the practice squad. But like, I mean, does it get you excited? Does it get you up to play Callaway, Smith, Kevin White? No.
Maybe you play Adam Trotman today.
Yeah. One of the 3 tight ends, I think, are in play.
Right.
Trotman, Juwan Johnson, and Taysom Hill.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens here with the Saints side of this. The Bengals side, though, you and I talked about it, right? Everybody is going to be looking, especially in DFS, again, looking to play Mahomes, Allen, Kyler, Geno. But we like Joe Burrow here. We think Joe Burrow going back to New Orleans. He played his college ball at LSU with Jamar Chase, so there's a little bit of that narrative in play. Jamar Chase is having like his entire family show up to this game today as well. So if you're a big family narrative guy, I think they said he's got like 40 tickets to this game already given out. So, and if T. Higgins isn't there, then it's Tyler Boyd and it's Jamar Chase as the top 2 receivers. Love Tyler Boyd where he's priced at DFS this week if that ends up being the case. But obviously the upside and everything there with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, they could easily rival a Josh Allen and a Stephon Diggs combo, or Kyler and Hollywood Brown. Like they're right up there in the ability to be that type of play.
Yeah, and I think what like scares us about using Joe Burrow is how much he gets hit, right? And like how much time he just doesn't have to throw. New Orleans near the bottom of the list in terms of sacks, just 10 sacks through 5 games this year. If Joe Burrow only gets sacked 2 times in a game, that's a win. That's a W. So yeah, I think Joe Burrow could actually have a decent pocket here. And I do think it is Jamar Chase season today, John, considering what you said, all the tickets that he's had. And if T. Higgins isn't in play, there was 2 games last year where Higgins didn't play and Boyd did. Both games, Tyler Boyd led the team in targets. He had 6 against Pittsburgh and 11 against Jacksonville. 4 receptions, 36 yards, and a touchdown against Pittsburgh. 11 targets, 9 receptions, 118 yards against Jacksonville. So the proof is in the pudding, as Floyd Mayweather once said. If no T. Higgins is no T. Higgins means Tyler Boyd. And honestly, if Hayden Hurst suits up, is expected to play. I mean, another guy. He scored twice in a row. He's had double-digit fantasy points in PPR formats 2 weeks in a row. I'd be looking at this whole Bengals passing attack.
Yeah, I mean, Marshawn Lattimore's out for today as well. So, I mean, like the top corner for the Saints is also out of this game there. So, a game that we're getting a lot of questions for here is this Colts situation. We have Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Indianapolis Colts today. No Jonathan Taylor. So, basically, our entire chat wants to know what to do with Dion Jackson, which isn't too surprised. We kind of anticipated that one there.
Right.
Over on YouTube, Amminister23 wants to know Dion Jackson, Alec Pierce also in this game, or George Pickens. You and I talked a lot about Alec Pierce in DFS. Good price point. The guy's got 80 yards in back-to-back games. Dion Jackson, George Pickens, we've talked about already here as well. If you're in a full PPR for a flex, how would you attack that one?
So I like all of them. I think I'd go Dion Jackson. I mean, look, 43 snaps and 26 routes is really, really good for a running back in a situation that they're going to throw the ball a lot. And the 13 carries, nothing to scoff at last week, as well as 4 targets for 29 yards. So, yeah, I think Dion Jackson is going to play a big role. Phillip Lindsay, again, not involved in the passing game. And if Jacksonville is taking a lead in this game, I mean, we're going to see Dion Jackson on the field because he's going to be used as their pass-catching back. So I like Dion Jackson out of those 3. I like all of them, but I think I would lean Dion Jackson.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. A-Ross in our chat here, pick 2 standard scoring. A.J. Brown, Cortland Sutton, Melvin Gordon.
The 2 receivers, Brown and Sutton.
I'm going to go with 2 receivers there as well. Though it's a great matchup for Gordon. I think you and I could probably run for 100 yards against the Chargers. Still it's a spot there. So this Jacksonville Colts game, like I said, the running back situation in the Colts, it's going to be Dion Jackson or Phillip Lindsay. The wide receivers, Marvin Jones is out. Zay Jones maybe day-to-day or game time decision rather, but optimistic he can play. We talked about Christian Kirk last week in his down game, but if Marvin Jones is out, they're going to need him to step up. It's not a great spot here going up against a tough Colts secondary. And then last week you saw Travis Etienne come through again for a big day over James Robinson. To me, that felt more so like game script than a full takeover, but they could find themselves in a similar game script today where they need Etienne out there over Robinson against Colts.
Yeah, I mean, it would feel that way, but now it's back-to-back weeks where Etienne has played 50+% of the snaps. Now 3 of 5 games he's played over 50% of the snaps. He hasn't been I think he hasn't been as involved in the passing game as I think we had hoped for. I know he has, he had 5 targets last week. But that day could come today, John. No Marvin Jones and a banged up Zay Jones. That could, sound the alarms for the Etienne truthers that, thought he would have games with 7-8 targets. And I think that could come today. I don't know if it's a full takeover. I still think we're going to see James Robinson. I still think if you have James Robinson, he's still in that flex territory, but I think this game is going to be our tell-all, right? If Etienne once again plays more snaps, I think we could be seeing a changing of the guard. Even though the guard, James Robinson's 25 years old. He's not old at all in his 3rd year. So,
we got Evan Ingram after a big game. Could be in line for a lot more targets given the situation there. Colts defense against tight ends, they haven't been that great. So certainly possible to see Ingram have a breakout here. Ravens versus Giants. Giants are getting 6 points here. It's a 45.5 game total. We've talked about a Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay already ruled out. Wandel Robinson is questionable and expected to play. How much confidence do you have in your Giants this week?
I mean, if I gained a lot of confidence with the scheme that Wink Martindale employed against Green Bay in that second half of last week. They looked so good. Green Bay only had the ball twice the whole half. They only scored 2 points on a safety. Their offense didn't score. And Wink Martindale was the Baltimore defensive coordinator for years. So, he'll have schemes. One thing to scheme against Lamar Jackson, I'm sure, and another to play against Lamar Jackson and actually stop Lamar Jackson. Look, I'm going to be optimistic about the Giants today. Baltimore is 6.5 point favorites for a reason. The Giants are beat up. They don't have any receivers. Thankfully Wandel is expected to play, but it's going to be tough sledding for them. I favor Baltimore. Maybe the Giants can cover 6.5. They're at home, so we have that going for us. But trying to stay optimistic here, John, without saying that we're going to lose. Okay, yeah. I'm going to leave it at that. I think the Giants can cover the 6.
Listen, we know that Baltimore's defense hasn't been that great against the pass at least. So we'll have to see if they can get anything going on there. Harken back to a couple teams we talked about already. Archie over on YouTube wants to know James Robinson or Dion Jackson today.
Dion Jackson.
Flippy, the YouTuber, wants to know he needs 2: Christian Kirk, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, AJ Dillon for today.
Who was the?
Yeah, it was Kirk, Waddle, Jeudy, and Dillon. I think I'm playing Jeudy.
I'm playing Jeudy, Kirk, or Waddle. The
better matchup for Waddle, but Tyler Thompson's a quarterback.
Yeah, dude, he did not look prepared to be an NFL quarterback.
Well, do you think if he struggles, does he play the whole game? Teddy Bridgewater's available. They're available.
You probably play Jalen Waddle, just based on
the talent.
Yeah, just based on the talent. Yeah, based on the talent.
Yep. Defense question here from David: Browns, Bengals, Vikings, or Ravens? I like
Giants
the Bengals.
Really haven't been.
I like the Bengals.
Yeah, Giants haven't been turning the ball over. New Orleans just doesn't have anybody. They just don't have options. So yeah, I'll agree with you on the Bengals.
That's where I'm at too. And Jeff Mason here needs 2 PPR, needs at least 1 running back in this group. There's a few players here. Tyler Boyd, Christian Kirk, Daryl Henderson, Dion Jackson, Melvin Gordon, Romeo Dubs.
So Daryl Henderson for the running back. I think I'd pick him over Dion Jackson. I might go Boyd if Higgins is out.
Yeah.
And if Higgins is in, Dion Jackson. Do you prefer, well, here's my question. Melvin Gordon or Dion Jackson, I guess the question would become.
Yeah, I'm it's such a good spot for Gordon, but can you trust that Broncos offense? That's the worry. Yeah, I'll probably go Dion Jackson. I'd probably go Dion Jackson and Hendo if Higgins is in.
And Boyd, I think
Dubs is certainly in the conversation.
Okay.
But again, I think a lot of people are going to be off of him because of last week's performance. But like 2 weeks ago, he was great. So it's the Jets secondary. I know Sauce Gardner's there. We don't know where Sauce is going to cover. Whether it be Lazard or Dubs. I think it could probably be Dubs, but I think it's close. But I would lean the 2 running backs there for sure.
Same.
Jeff Wilson or Kenneth Walker is a popular one. Listen, it's funny that people are like, do I play Jeff Wilson given how amazing he has been this year? But if there was a rival to that this week, like Kenneth Walker could be that guy in the Seattle offense.
Yeah, I think they're both borderline RB1s this week. So again, like good for you to have both, and having to decide between both means you're in a very good spot in your fantasy roster. I'll still go Jeff Wilson. The only thing Kenneth Walker is probably going to be more involved in the passing game than Jeff Wilson will be, especially with the emergence of Tevin Coleman being back in their passing attack. The GOAT, Tevin Coleman, and he's best in Kyle Shanahan's systems. So I'll go Jeff Wilson, but like I understand if you prefer Kenneth Walker in like a PPR because we know his his ability to catch passes is a little greater than Wilson.
Yep. And we have the 49ers against the Falcons today. Falcons are getting 5.5. It's a 44.5 game total here today. We mentioned Trent Williams being out is obviously a big blow to that 49ers offensive line. Nick Bosa, questionable as well to play there. But still, this is a matchup against – I'm actually surprised it's only 5.5. I saw that Kyle Pitts is expected to play, but, like, can you trust the 49ers defense has been smothering, right? So, like, I know that Nick Bosa is questionable and whatnot, but, like, do you expect the Falcons offense, honestly, to get anything going here? Because I really don't.
I mean, they didn't last week until they did, kind of, right, against Tampa, and this feels like a similar spot, and I think San Francisco's defense is even better than Tampa's defense. So, no, I don't. I think their running game looked horrible last week, and I know Tampa's run defense is great, but I don't have much.
Those are the 49ers, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to improve very much here. Mariota just doesn't throw enough. I mean, 25 attempts. Wow, that was almost shocking to see. Yeah. Nah, he did throw 33 times. I'll give him credit in week 1. So shout out to him. But like, how many, like, where would you bench Kyle Pitts, Sean? Like, in what situation would you bench him? Because
you should have benched him. Look at he's not playing.
I know, but tight end is so. It's so hard to, predict this year outside of if you.
This is where I sit with this, James, and I've said this to our members in our Discord. ADP no longer matters, right?
Right.
You drafted this player 6 weeks ago. Is he worth starting? Who cares where you took him? Who cares what your preseason perceived notions of this player was? He's not it. Right? If he becomes it, great. But you can't start him every week taking 2 fantasy points. It's the Allen Robinson question that we get over and over and over again. Hey, do I play Allen Robinson this week? No, you should have stopped playing him 3 weeks ago, right? Like they're not throwing to him. He's not being productive for you. The problem is that everybody has FOMO, and FOMO loses you weeks. You're afraid of benching Allen Robinson. You're afraid of Kyle Pitts because, like, What if this is the week they break out? You know what? Then it was on your bench. But so far, 5 of the 6 weeks hasn't been it. So, you're losing every week you're playing them. You got to find yourself a guy that you think you can trust a little bit. And I agree. The tight end position's been garbage, right? Outside of the top 2, you're really just throwing darts out there. I mean, Will Dissly's got like the top 10 tight end.
Three touchdowns, right?
Yeah. Who knew? Like, it's hard to predict, but at least there has to be some sort of like reason to play these guys, and they're just not. This isn't the spot, right? If it was a better matchup, maybe you could talk me into it, but like this isn't that matchup to play Kyle Pitts. So I'm out there. Jets Packers. Packers are giving 7.5, 45.5 game total. We've talked about this one a little bit already. Lazard and Dubs, but Randall Cobb last week had the breakout game. Is that are you buying or selling the Randall Cobb experience?
I mean, it's hard to ignore 13 targets, and now Christian Watson's out. We know Sammy Watkins is, on IR. So like a little less, a little more, or a little less like a condensed target tree. The only thing is, the Rodgers thumb is a little worrisome. It's going to be like a little rainy in Green Bay. You got to think after hearing Aaron Jones, like basically say like, why did I not get the ball at the goal line? Like we're going to see more Aaron Jones. I mean, I know we haven't seen more than 16 carries this year, but I think we could see a season high here. I don't envision Aaron Rodgers just coming out in the second half like he did against the Giants and just throwing like exclusively. Like for whatever reason, every time Green Bay touched the ball in the second half last week, they just threw. Like they just did not use the running backs. I don't think that's the case, and that's going to hurt Randall Cobb. So I'm probably out. Like, again, if you're really desperate, I mean, you have to be really desperate to play Randall Cobb,
right?
Because he hadn't had a game with more than 4 targets prior to week 5. So if you're super desperate, Randall Cobb is okay, but like, I'm sure there are better options on the waiver wire.
I agree. We have a defense question here pertaining to Green Bay as well. Jeffrey Mason wants to know Green Bay Packers defense or Jacksonville Jaguars defense today?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, you can almost bank a Matt Ryan interception at this point. I mean, 4 or 5 games where he's had a pick. He's throwing a lot, 37 plus times in 4 or 5, as I mentioned before. I'll go Jacksonville. I think as much as we like some of these indie guys, I mean, we liked them. They were good last week and they didn't score. Like they scored 12 points. So like they can still be productive without putting up 30 points. So I'll go Jacksonville defense, probably force a couple turnovers against Matty Ice.
I'll go Jacksonville defense there as well. We have the Patriots against the Browns. Browns are giving 2.5, a 43.5 game total. Damien Harris is going to be out or likely to be out today. He is listed as questionable, but most people don't expect him to play. Question in chat, Ramondre Stevenson or Eno Benjamin today?
Oh, it's Ramondre
Stevenson
season is I think what the kids are saying, John, over on the social media platforms. I'm sorry. Okay. I know the Patriots are your team. They are so annoying. Okay. Like the last 2 weeks, Mac Jones was never going to play. If you watch those like reports at practice, he's like literally like taking snaps and limping, doing his drops, like never going to play, but let's list him questionable, right? Let's leave that open.
He flew with the team. Everybody's like, he flew with the team. Like he's really a game time decision. Who knows?
Now, Damien Harris, the initial reports are, he's going to miss a couple weeks.
Yeah.
With a hamstring, which is like, he goes out there 1 carry, blows out his hamstring, and he's done for. But now we're testing it out in pregame, and he's questionable.
Right.
Like, what are you? New England is just they're playing games with our heads, and I don't like it. Okay.
They elevated somebody for the practice squad too, like JJ Taylor or something like that, and then there's still like maybe Harris is available. We'll see.
Maybe he's available. Like the expectation is that he's not going to play, and like that's. I'm sure that is the case.
Right.
Kevin Harris was who they elevated.
Okay, Kevin Harris.
But
he's like a 6th-round pick this year. Kevin
Harris. Yep. But like, just rule the guy out. Stop playing with our minds. Stop playing with our hearts, John. And your heart, especially.
Bill. He's always playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. He wants the Browns to have to prepare for Mac Jones and Damien Harris instead of just ruling them out ahead of time. That is that's the way to go for him there. But again, Patriots defense has been very good, but they're going to be without John Jones today. Not the UFC fighter, the cornerback. Jonathan Jones is not going to play today, but Jack Jones has been right up there with one of the best corners in football. Not that there's a big passing attack they have to worry about. It's a running game. What do we talk about with Bill Belichick all the time is he does his whole game plan is to take away what you do best. Is he capable of containing, though, Nick Chubb this week, do you think?
I mean, the jury's still out because nobody has contained Nick Chubb this year. Nick Chubb has been on an absolute different level, and you and I have talked about this already this week. The one game that he was semi-contained by the Jets, only 87 yards, John. Only 5.1 yards per carry in that game. 3 tuds. 3. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. So, like, you know, maybe they make Jacoby Brissett try to beat him. Maybe they try to, you know, they're running 8-man boxes against Nick Chubb. It might not even matter because he might take a 50-yarder to the house. So obviously the game plan is going to be centered around Nick Chubb, but can you stop him is the question. I mean, it's not like Carolina, New York, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, LA didn't center their game plans around stopping Nick Chubb either, and that didn't matter. So.
Yep, I agree with you there as well. Guys, I see all your questions in the chat. James and I continue to answer these as we do our game-by-game breakdown here. We got an hour to go with the Game Day playbook here presented by Fantasy Alarm. We got to stick with the channel all day long. Plenty to get to, plenty to cover throughout the day. Pre-gaming with Front Yard Fantasy from 11 to 1 with Simon, Joey, and JL. 1 to 5, we have Better Zone with Corey, Adam, and Tom, where at halftime of that Bills-Chiefs game, they're going to be giving away an autographed Marv Levy Buffalo Bills jersey. So you got to be on the app for that. Be part of the show to have an opportunity to win that. And then from 5 to 8, we have Better Zone once again with Holden Kushner and Greg Leonard. So you got to get in. You got to download the app on your app store, iTunes, Google Play. Subscribe, click join show to be eligible to win the jersey later on, but also to be part of our show here with James and myself. If you want to call in, you can. If you want to be part of us, you know, go on Twitter, tweet at us, Playbook Ritual. Tell us what you're cooking today for your food. Get us your fantasy questions, however it is you want to interact with us. Add us at the Bettor Sports Network Twitter handle using hashtag Playbook Ritual. We'll find you. We'll answer your questions live on the show today. When James and I get back, we're going to go back to answering your questions. I see them. I promise you we'll get to them. It's a big week 6 for everybody here. We'll continue our game day previews as well. This is the Game Day Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm on the Bettor Sports Network.
Bettor Sports Live with Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla. That's 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific.
We've talked about this. It's you're not into that to the dynasty thing.
I don't, dynasty is like a long-term relationship, and that just is really tough for me, Rick, you know?
I understand.
It is such, and then when you say the 2 things that you say that probably scare me the most is a 14-team dynasty. Then I'm like, oh, this is a now complex relationship that requires a lot of my attention.
And a dog that you don't like and all of that stuff, right?
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray. Weekdays at noon Eastern, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
I wish they'd get rid of instant replay. I think it's damaging to the sport. I just don't like it.
They will never get rid of instant replay on the broadcast. We demand it, and that's why. Remember, replay kind of rose out of the fact that people would sit at home and say, "Why can't they look at this? Why can't they see? I get to see the replay, and I know it's wrong. Why don't they get it?" So that said, okay, we'll have replay. Ray, we're never going to get rid of replay. No. Like you couldn't say, "Hey, the NFL will get rid of it, but we're not going to show it on broadcast." What if the NFL said, we'll get rid of replay, but we will not show any instant replays at the stadium? Would you be okay with, like, you'd still get them at home, and you could still yell at the TV, but the ref can't hear you there.
Right.
Like, I feel part of it is they have to have replay because the millions upon millions of people watching the game have replay. So, like, you can't not have replay when everybody else has it, but the guys making the decisions don't have it. Like, you gotta have replay. It's impossible.
It is impossible. It's just my dream. It doesn't help.
You get better dreams, Ray. That's not really like
it doesn't help. That's the thing. If we use replay and it creates as many questions as answers that it solves, what's the point of it?
Well, it's not going to change, Ray Flowers. You're going to be an old man still yelling at the replay cloud.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better. The Game Day Playbook, presented by fantasyalarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. The Game Day Playbook presented by Fantasy. I'm Jon Impemba here with James Grande, bringing you the latest news, game previews, and answering your start-sit questions here for NFL Week 6. James, like I said, we have a lot to get to still. We're going through our game previews here. You guys are with us asking your questions. I see them. We'll get to them as we break down today's games as well. And if you want to jump the line, get your questions answered immediately, you got to go into the App Store. iTunes, Google Play, download the Bettor Sports Network app, sign up, join the show, and get your questions answered right into our system there, and we'll answer those immediately as they come in. So no better time than now to become part of the Bettor Sports Network there. James, some of the top headlines, as we've talked about, Jonathan Taylor not expected to play today. Saints are missing all of their wide receivers today. Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave unexpected to play there today as well. Cam Akers not expected to play for the Rams, or not going to play for the Rams, and maybe never play again for the Rams. So, there's certainly a lot more to go as the news breaks. Marvin Jones, as we know, has already been ruled out. Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay have been ruled out for the Giants already. Nelson Aguilar is out for the Patriots. Tyquan Thornton, the rookie second rounder, could see an increase in snaps there for today. But Buccaneers versus Steelers. The Steelers are getting 8.5 to 44.5 game total. I even think that number's gone up since the last time I looked at it, given all the injuries to that Steelers defense. Maybe you can let me know if that number. I thought I started around 10. Maybe it's sitting at 8.5 now. But I know that people were very down on the Steelers today. They're missing their top 3 cornerbacks. They're missing Minkah Fitzpatrick today as well. So you're looking at a Tampa Bay defense that is just going to offense rather that's just going to put up points and yards.
They are going to eat, John, for sure. It is 10, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, no TJ Watt. I mean, they just don't have the horses to stop Pittsburgh, and we know Brady's just going to throw.
He's
not
going to
stop throwing
in that pocket until that football.
He is not going to stop throwing. It's going to be 21-0 after the end of one, or 21-3, and he's going to keep throwing, and then they're going to have 30 in the second half, and they're going to be up big, and he's going to keep throwing. And we've talked about this, like in DFS. You know who everyone's going to play? They're going to play Josh Allen. They're going to play Geno Smith. They're going to play Kyler Murray. Brady sits in that like next tier where it's like, I think people are going to start gravitating towards him if they're looking to be contrarian in tournaments. Yeah. And I think that's a super, good way to go. We just saw 2 weeks ago, he puts up 29 fantasy points, throws for 385 yards. He follows it up with 350 yards against the Falcons. And if some better luck falls his way, I mean, Mike Evans tackled at the 1, Chris Godwin tackled inside the 5, like could have had 3 touchdowns. We're talking about another 30 fantasy point day for Tom Brady. So, I mean, I think Brady is going to dominate this matchup. Look Josh Allen was on pace to literally break the NFL. If Pittsburgh was competitive last week, Josh Allen is your record holder in like every offensive passing category. But he just didn't play the fourth quarter. So.
Right. Yeah. And the one thing that people worry about is like, oh, it's a 10-point spread. Like they're just starting running the football. It's like, no, Tom Brady doesn't do that.
No, they don't.
They throw and they throw and they throw. They throw to Leonard Fournette. They throw to Rachaad White. No, I think at some point they'll turn it over to the running game, but not before Brady has, you said, maybe 300 and a couple scores. Last week was very frustrating. I had Tom Brady in a couple of lineups, paired him up with Mike Evans. Evans gets tackled at the 3, and then Fournette scores. They get Godwin down at the 1. He does throw a touchdown to Fournette there, but there could have been a better day for Tom Brady. I love Mike Evans today. Again, I do the Prize Picks player prop article video over at Fantasy Alarm. You can check that out now. Mike Evans over 66.5 receiving yards. The guy has catches of 40, 41, and 30 in each of the last 3 games. So in 2 plays against Pittsburgh today, maybe one, if they don't have an over-the-top help in Minkah Fitzpatrick there, he could get 65 yards on a touchdown, right? Like that's not out of the realm of possibility for Mike Evans today. So I gave you out that first play earlier today. The second one there was Mike Evans over 66.5 or 67.5, I think it was actually. So if you want to get the rest of the video, you can find it on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube page. If you're watching the live stream, click the videos. It's there. If you want to go to fantasyalarm.com as well, the article and everything is there also. So we're doing player props. We're doing DFS. We're doing game breakdowns here. We had a question in our Bettor Sports chat here of Flex PPR, Juju Smith-Schuster, Michael Gallup, or Garrett Wilson for Frosto Nick.
I mean, I'm going to go Juju slightly over Gallup, but I'll go Juju based on game environment.
Yep, I agree. I'll go Juju there as well. Let me ask you a question. What are your thoughts on the Jalen Warren discussion? Obviously, they've mentioned, Tomlin has mentioned they want to get Jalen Warren maybe involved a little bit more. Najee Harris has really been struggling. Again, Najee Harris last year was not efficient. He was just the volume king, right? Like he just got so many touches that the fantasy points came. The offensive line still isn't great for them. They now have a rookie quarterback. He's not doing anything. He may still be hurt. Remember, he got hurt in the offseason. He was dealing with that foot problem. And now they're saying, maybe Jalen Warren's going to get more looks here. Is Najee Harris startable to you today in this matchup?
It's tough, man. I mean, look, Jalen Warren has the same issue as Najee Harris does with the offensive line. Like they're both dealing with the same thing. I think Najee Harris, if you have an Benjamin, or you have a Daryl Henderson, or you have, a Dion Jackson, like maybe you're starting those guys, I think, over Najee.
Probably.
I mean, I think like if I were doing my rankings, Najee Harris is like a borderline RB3, John. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like I think Adam Ronis actually, go to Fantasy Alarm. We have the weekly player rankings done by Adam Ronis. I'm pretty sure that he actually had him like outside his top 20 this week. He had Najee Harris at 23. So
RB2,
borderline RB2. But like you said, RB3, like 23 is very close to being
10
RB3.
10 team leagues. That's an RB3.
Yeah. So
yeah.
And listen, we talked about with Kyle Pitts, right? Like this wouldn't be the matchup for Najee Harris where I would think all of a sudden he would have his breakout game, right, against Tampa Bay. Like that doesn't seem like the spot it would come in. So if you have Najee Harris and you have anybody else this week, I would probably take a look at playing him for sure. If you're in a 14-team league, would you play Rachaad White today?
Yes. Probably.
You had to?
Yeah, I mean the snap share is obviously appealing. There's bye weeks. There's a lot of injuries at the running back position. He's going to be involved in the passing game. Yeah, if I'm really desperate, I don't think Rachaad White's the worst option. And Leonard Fournette himself said that he wants to get Rachaad White like on the field more. Was his performance against Atlanta great? No, 7 fantasy points. But like, if you're like Rachaad White or Phillip Lindsay, right? Because there's going to be questions like that.
Yeah.
I don't hate going the Rachaad White side just because his potential volume in the passing game.
Yeah, let me ask you. We have a Rachaad White question, and we got to get into this. It also involves a couple of guys we've discussed already. 2 flex spots: Benny Blanco over there on YouTube, Alex Pierce, Zay Jones, Rachaad White, Jalen Warren, Michael Carter, or Josh Kelly. The Josh Kelly come up lately has been surprising to me. For me, I think I want to go Pierce. I think for one of them,
I would probably go a healthy Zay Jones as the second one.
Okay.
Other than last week, he had been very consistent. Now there's no Marvin Jones for sure. I'd probably go Zay Jones as my second pick. You sounded a little more wishy-washy than I did on Zay Jones, though.
Yeah, I mean,
the volume was awesome.
Yeah.
Outside of last week, Zay Jones was looking the part that people drafted him as a late. I mean, the snap share was still great last week. They just did not do anything offensively. That entire offense was just mute.
Right.
He still had 8 targets in that game, though, John,
right,
against Houston. So, like, the volume is still there. I would still go Zay Jones. I'm still a little more confident in him, even with the ankle.
Okay.
I'm
fine
the
with
other
that.
guys.
My Rachaad White problem, again, it's not really a problem. It's just like the game script has to be like Rachaad White had a big game last week because they were down 3 touchdowns the whole time against Kansas City, basically, right? Like, is this the environment? Maybe he would get the blowout run, like they would just not play Fournette if they were up big. I guess that could be a thing, but it's just tough to trust when it comes to that there as well. Ben Terry has a Najee Harris question. Najee Harris, Rondale Moore, or DJ Moore? I mean, do you play Rondale this week over those two? I mean,
it's so close.
It is close. He's getting the snap share. Last week he finally got the targets. This is a game against Seattle where you want the points, you want the exposure. They all have very low floors. Right?
Yes.
Like that's the thing there.
So here, let me pitch this to you and do with this as you want. Okay.
Sure. Is this the target share for DJ Moore with PJ Walker?
Yes, so PJ Walker, I won't go target. I'll just break down. So his lone start last year, DJ Moore had 7 targets. Didn't do a lot with it, 7 targets. Lone start in 2020, 11 targets, right? So, I mean, then again, CMC last year, 10 targets, right? So it could just be a dump down fest to CMC.
Right.
Does that push does that move the needle for you at all? Like,
I mean,
I kind of agree on the Rondale. I think I would go Rondale as well, but I might rank DJ Moore last in that situation.
It's close. Again, we don't think PJ Walker's great, but I mean, Baker was horrible.
It can only go up, John. It can only go up from Baker Mayfield.
Like, how many sacks does Aaron Donald get today? Like 5? What do you think? I don't know.
I mean, PJ Walker's a little more mobile than Baker Mayfield is and will ever be. So like maybe he can elude Aaron Donald, but not many people can. I'll go Rondale Moore slightly over Najee. DJ Moore is in kind of like a prove it phase right now. Like he's not that guy, pal.
Yeah, he's not that guy. He's like, you are that guy? Yeah, I'm that guy. A couple more questions here. We'll kind of rattle these through a little bit. Henderson or Gordon in a full PPR from Sky Empire over on YouTube?
I'll go Henderson.
Pittman, Breece Hall, Devonta Smith, or Eno Benjamin need to sit one today.
Oh, God. Pittman, Breece Hall,
Devonta Smith, or Eno Benjamin.
I'm probably sitting Devonta Smith.
Yeah. That's probably the right play, but you know that like Devonta's going to burn Trayvon Diggs for like a 70-yard score today. So or Monday, whatever day the Cowboys are playing. But that's probably that's probably the right play. I don't love the Colts. So like I waver a little bit there, but he is with no Taylor. You got to think Pittman gets targeted. I would think a lot. So
they're gonna throw a lot, man. They're gonna throw a lot, and I know Matt Ryan hasn't been great, but like Michael Pittman was borderline wide receiver 1 with Carson Wentz last year. So I think Matt Ryan can make it happen, and I still have some faith in Michael Pittman. If I'm a Michael Pittman truther, dude, that spot is very tough for Philly. I know you have rooting interest in everything Philly because like you've been on their bandwagon.
It's a very tough week for me because I have like 99% Jalen Hurts, but the one league I don't have Jalen Hurts in, I'm facing Jalen Hurts this week. So
that is tough.
It's
tough scenes, John.
Yeah, it's really. I gotta hope for like maybe like 16 fantasy points, and everybody else does well.
Who did you draft other than Jalen Hurts? If I must ask, because I didn't know you drafted anyone other than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Kyler Murray is my other quarterback. So
okay, so you're all right. So whatever.
Listen, I was very transparent. My strategy was to take a quarterback of Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, or Jalen Hurts. Like I wanted one of those 3 mobile quarterbacks. I took Jalen Hurts like the majority of the time. The problem is when you start tweeting so much about the player you want, you're in these leagues and everybody knows who you're going after. They take them ahead of you. Yeah, so that's how that is. Vikings, Dolphins. Dolphins are only getting 3. Maybe that's been updated, James. I don't know if you want to take a quick peek on that one. 45.5 game total here. 2 has been cleared, but out Teddy Bridgewater's been cleared, but backing up. Skylar Thompson is making his NFL debut today. We have someone in the YouTube Twitter chat here. Patrick Gira wants to know, Vikings defense a good play today? There's still a lot of talent on that side of the Miami football outside of the quarterback. You know, that's a tough one for me. Plus, I'm a firm believer in the Miami flu, James. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Miami flu or not, but these teams, they come down, you know, Minnesota's in Minnesota, and then they go down to Miami and they get the club scene. We know what James Harden likes to do in Miami, right? Like, they're maybe that's what's going on with some of these Minnesota players, and they're not maybe they won't be ready for today's game, but it is tough. I guess I agree. Skylar Thompson did not look good last week. But Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill are very good players where they just need a 5-yard pitch to go take it to the house. So what are your thoughts on the Vikings defense today?
Well, first off, what does James Harden do in Miami?
Oh, yeah, there's a long Reddit thread. Just type in James Harden road games, and you can see his trends there. So
okay, I mean, look, I think we don't need to tell you that if Tyreek Hill catches a ball on a slant, he can go 75 at any point, and Jalen Waddle the same. I mean, I think Minnesota's defense is fine, right? They have some talent, but it's not like a premier defense. I mean, I'm okay with them. They have only 11 sacks on the year. They're not really getting to the quarterback. But it is Skylar Thompson. So, what are our other options? Who asked that? Patrick asked, what are your other options in Minnesota? Maybe we'll like them better. But I think they're a mediocre defense because the playmakers that Miami do have on offense.
Would you play Jalen Waddle or Drake London today?
Probably Jalen Waddle, but I'm not overly confident in either. I mean, I know the Drake London volume has been okay, but Kyle Pitts being back, they don't throw the ball even in a game where they're trailing by 3 scores. Mariota only throws 25 times.
Yeah.
So I'll go Waddle.
So there's actually an extension to this question. So I guess there's a multiple part question. So he needs 2 for a flex. It's Waddle, London, Isaiah McKenzie, Romeo Doubs, or Zay Jones.
So Waddle, and we're definitely going to be split here. I have a feeling you're going to go Doubs.
Yeah, I'm going to go Doubs.
I would probably go.
You like Zay Jones?
Probably Zay Jones. But yeah, I'll go Zay Jones, and I figured you'd go Doubs. I think they're both probably in a little better spots than Drake London is.
Yep, I agree with you there. And guys, keep getting your questions coming in. Again, we're going to answer them as we go through some of these game breakdowns here. I know there's just a lot of questions. It's a big week 6, but just because the Game Day playbook is ending at 11 doesn't mean you have to leave the Bettor Sports Network. We have coverage here all day long. The Front Yard Fantasy crew is right after us from 11 to 1. So stick with the channel here. Only way to do it, though, you got to download the Bettor Sports Network app. You can jump the line, get your questions into our chat box there. Go to your iTunes, Google Play Store, download that. Again, we're here all day long. Front Yard Fantasy 11 to 1. Better Zone from 1 to 5 with Corey, Adam, and Tom. And then again, 5 to 8 with Holden Kushner and Greg Lander. We're giving away an autographed Buffalo Bills Marv Levy jersey today during halftime of the Kansas City Chiefs Buffalo Bills game. So you got to go ahead and be part of the show for that. We got a Ben Stiller fan in our chat here. He wants to know Juju or Najee Harris for a flex spot.
Oof. Oh God. Oh, John, that's excruciatingly. I'll go Juju. I'll go Juju.
Yeah, I think you gotta go Juju.
I'll go Juju, but still, man, I know the game environment is Najee's still playing a lot of snaps outside of last week, and still has a couple tuds on the year, so he could score when Juju hasn't. So I'll go Juju slightly, but I wouldn't. It's very close.
I agree. Frosto Nick in our chat wants to know if Zay Jones is a free agent and is PPR 10 man. Would you rather do Zay Jones or Garrett Wilson? I'm still keeping Garrett Wilson here.
I would split the difference. I like the volume. I get your Garrett Wilson. There's going to be some rain there. I wouldn't outright drop Garrett Wilson, but again, with the running game succeeding so much, just 4 targets in the Miami game, and I know it was a blowout, and it was all Breece Hall and Michael Carter. But even in Pittsburgh, 6 targets, which was much down from when Joe Flacco was at under center. So
yeah,
I'll split the difference again and go Zay Jones a little. I like him a little bit more this week.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, Garrett Wilson just has a higher ceiling, but I guess he is getting a lot. Zay Jones is getting the volume, so yeah, I could see it. I could see that being a good option there. Again, we got a lot of questions. I'm gonna kind of rapid fire through some of these before we get back to our game previews here. Christian Kirk or Jacoby Myers for a flex?
Jacoby Myers.
Okay. Alvin Kamara, Kenneth Walker, or Daryl Henderson needs to play too.
Sit Henderson.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit Hendo there. Ethan Batterman wants to know Russ Wilson or Trevor Lawrence today.
Broncos country, let's ride.
That's right, yeah. Start DJ Moore, Rondale Moore, Tyler Boyd, or Alec Pierce in a half PPR.
Only one of them. Tyler Boyd if there's no Higgins. If Higgins is in, Rondale Moore?
Yeah, I lean Alec Pierce there, I think. I think I would
go
Alec
Pierce?
Yeah.
Okay. Even if there's no Higgins? If there's no Higgins?
Yeah, you're playing Tyler Boyd if there's no Higgins. I think you're playing Alec Pierce if Higgins is in. For me personally there. Dubs or Marquez Callaway in a half PPR?
Dubs.
Yeah. Pick 2, going back to this Miami breakdown here. Raheem Mostert taking over the lead running back role there in Miami. Michael Gallup, Benjamin, or Garrett Wilson for Matt Houston over there?
Go Mostert and Benjamin.
Yeah, especially in the half PPR. That works for me. Drake London or Devin Duvernay in a 1-point PPR? Duvernay on the come up right now with no Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, I know this question piqued your interest because I know you're a Devin Duvernay guy. I might go Duvernay. Just
I'm not
the wide receiver one.
Atlanta Falcon. You can't pay me.
Yeah,
it's not going to do it. Philip Lindsay, Mike Boone, or Darius Slayton. I feel sorry that those are your decisions this week. Half PPR.
So Wandel Robinson, just reported by Rap Sheet, gonna play.
Okay.
I don't know if that takes you off Darius Slayton at all. If it does, we don't know about Latavius Murray in Denver.
Right.
I'll go Philip Lindsay. He had 10 touches and 7 fantasy points last week. Maybe he sneaks his way into the end zone today.
Yeah. Ann Dunn in chat. Hey, Ann. It's nice to see you here this fine morning here. Breece Hall, Henderson, or Kenneth Walker in a PPR?
Great problem to have, Ann Dunn. I'll go Kenneth Walker there.
Yeah, I'm going to go Kenneth Walker. And she has another question here. Do we think CD is going to play? Her only other pivots are Algier or Edmonds.
Expectation is that CeeDee Lamb's going to play. So I think you feel confident there that CeeDee Lamb suits up.
Yeah, I think you got to suit him up. I agree. It's worth the risk because you don't Algier and Edmonds, those guys. I mean, Algier's in a bad spot. Edmonds isn't seeing the field right now, so kind of tough to go there. Cousins or Lawrence?
Oh, my feelings. I'm a Captain Kirk guy this week. Yeah, I like Captain Kirk in DFS as well.
Yeah. Tight end league, Smith or Ingram for a tight end here in a standard league. I don't know what's Smith. All right, tight end.
Irv. I'm assuming Irv.
Oh, Irv. Yeah.
Ingram standard, right? It's Ingram. The only thing I'd say is Ingram hasn't scored. We know Irv is used in the red zone a little bit more. I'll go Ingram, but definitely a case because Irv can score touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. Start 3, Kirk, Waddle, Myers, Moore, Dobbins, or Henderson?
Hendo, Myers. I assume that's a Rondale Moore. But I would start. You're probably starting Waddle, Myers, Henderson, or would you go Dobbins over Waddle? That's probably the question. I think you safely start Daryl Henderson. You're safely starting Jacoby Myers. It's probably Waddle versus Dobbins for me is that final.
Yeah, I might go Waddle.
I think I would go Waddle. The Giants have been better. They're getting Leonard Williams back today in the middle of that defensive line, so I think that's something to consider. So I'll go Jalen Waddle slightly over J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well when it comes to that matchup. Again, we like the I think there could be some sneaky upside with Miami today, but everybody's so down on them. Like the receivers are still so talented. Like I just think it's a spot to go. Opposite side of this matchup, though, you talked about Kirk Cousins. We like Kirk Cousins. We like Justin Jefferson a lot in this matchup today against Miami. Like Miami secondary has been horrible. I think those two. Again, you're talking about being contrarian, you're talking about being different. You're spending down at running back today in DFS. Like getting Justin Jefferson is like one of your spend up wide receivers as a pivot off of the chalky Seattle guys, with or the Bills. Like Justin Jefferson had like 160 yards last week. Like he can outproduce them as much as you want.
Yeah, I mean, he went for 30 DraftKings points without scoring a touchdown. If you want to know the upside that Justin Jefferson has and the floor that Justin Jefferson has, I mean, if you could put up 30 fantasy points without scoring, like you are special. And Miami, sixth most receiving yards, tongue twister there, against quarterbacks this year. And that's only 6 because the Commanders have played one more game than them. Third most fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks for Miami. Kirk Cousins, hello. And the only reason they're third is because the Washington Commanders have played one more game than them. And then the same could be said for Justin Jefferson. They're missing all their good corners in Miami. I do think Kirk Cousins, we mentioned Tom Brady, sneaky DFS play right there with Tom Brady as that like second tier behind the obvious 4 guys that everyone's going to play. It's Brady and Cousins for me in that second tier. And I think one of these games, man, Kirk Cousins is going to score 3, like he's going to throw 3 touchdown passes. We've had a couple with 2 last week. He started 12 for 12 and still only throws 1 touchdown. I really like Kirk Cousins this week as a contrarian DFS play.
I agree with you. James, we had Benny Blanco from our YouTube channel. Well, now he's joined the Bettor Sports Network. He's now in our Bettor Sports app. Like I said, if you want to jump the line with your questions, go to the iTunes store, go to Google Play, download the Bettor Sports app, sign up, click join show, get in our chat, and we'll answer your question ahead of the YouTube channel. So you got to get in there to be part of the show today. He's got a question for us. Do we think that Brandon Ayuk will have more than 7 points today? That matchup against Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good matchup. I think there's a chance early. I think late in this game, we're going to see a lot of Jeff Wilson and a lot of Tevin Coleman. So we need to get it done early here, Benny Blanco. I'll say he goes over 7. Let's see. He scored over 7 in all but one game this year, and he had 6.7 in the one that he didn't. So we are almost there. I'll go over 7 fantasy points for Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, listen, I like that Garoppolo's the quarterback there. I think it just kind of stabilizes that passing offense a little bit more. You kind of know where they're going to go with the football as well. And they're not using Kittle as much in the passing offense so far, especially with no Trent Williams today. They may ask Kittle to block a bit more as well today. So something to consider there. And as another question for us here, Saints defense and 49ers defense. That's an easy one. We're going
49ers. Yes.
Waddle or Tyler Boyd today if T. Higgins doesn't play?
It's a great question. And it's very hard to bench Jalen Waddle. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I would probably go Tyler Boyd just considering you also have to factor in Hayden Hurst might not be at 100%. He's dealing with the injury as well. And we've seen it. We saw it last year. I mean, Tyler Boyd was the featured guy over Jamar Chase, and now that might not be the case today. And I didn't mean to rhyme there, but it happens. Play on words. I'll go Tyler Boyd, but if Higgins is in, I'll go Jalen Waddle.
Yep, I think I agree with you. Listen, Tyler Boyd's a very good wide receiver. They just went out and drafted 2 other very good wide receivers. Like they may have the best trio in football. I mean, I think it's up there for a debate from a pure talent standpoint. So, it's very strong there. Q McBride's got a couple questions for us. Duvernay or Rondale Moore, and then Ertz or Goddard today.
Moore and Ertz. We talked about it on the DFS podcast. No one's allowing more fantasy points to opposing tight ends than Seattle this year. So I'll go Rondale Moore and Zach Ertz.
Yep, I'm with you there as well. Speaking of this game with the Cardinals Seahawks getting 2.5 points here. It's a 50.5 game total. No Darrell Williams, no James Conner. So Benjamin shares getting fired up here. We know the opposite side of this game with Seattle. No Rashad Penny, so Kenneth Walker. Geno Smith has been a top 5 fantasy quarterback. Tyler Lockett. DraftKings pricing is criminal for Seattle again.
Criminal.
Geno Smith is 57. Tyler Lockett's 56. Tyler Lockett's going to be in 40% of fantasy lineups today. He's just far too inexpensive there. Metcalf, good pivot, high upside play here. Rondale Moore, really great spot against Seattle. Seeing the snap share, also very cheap. We're talking DFS, one of the most stackable games. If you're talking seasonal, smoke him if you got him, right? If you have any exposure to this game, you're going to pretty much want to put him in your lineup.
Yeah, I think, look, in DFS, the 2 games that everyone's focusing on is Kansas City, Buffalo, and this game, Arizona, Seattle, which also not happy that's the Mariners lost, but happy that this game wasn't flexed to Tuesday. Let's let's all be thankful for that.
Can you imagine?
And you have to wait. You're winning the Millie Maker with a Seattle Arizona stack coming on Tuesday. Oh, what a nightmare. Yeah, I'm actually surprised, John, if you go over to the Fantasy Alarm draft forecaster to see DK Metcalf with so much rostership coming his way. I figure everyone would pivot to Tyler Lockett, and for good reason. He's 5,600 and has been better. Love Metcalf. I love the matchup. Love everyone in this game, except Greg Dortch, who, RIP Greg Dortch had 2 good weeks. And but no,
last week maybe for one of these guys though, because DeAndre Hopkins returns next week.
Yeah, so I guess that's an interesting question because Marquis Brown has been so good, so much volume. D-Hop getting older, he's missed 6 games. Do you think? I think Kyler could support both of them. We've seen Zach Ertz get a lot of volume. He's older. Is Zach Ertz the one to really take a hit? Hollywood Brown, 10, 11, 17, 11 targets. Right. Those aren't just going to go away. I think Rondale Moore is obviously going to take a step back, and I think Zach Ertz. I think Hollywood Brown is good moving forward. I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 like he's been, but I think safely a wide receiver 2 most weeks, and we'll see how D-Hop looks when he comes back. 6-game suspension, year older. We'll see. He was good last year. But he wasn't great. Yeah, he wasn't great.
And then obviously he was on steroids. So
he was on steroids as well. Correct.
Yeah, so you're right. We'll see what happens. When he comes back and he's slower, he's rusty. To me, I think Hollywood Brown just becomes a little bit more of the deep shot guy. Think Christian Kirk role minus the size there. So we'll see. Again, I do agree with you. I think they're all still going to be pretty fantasy viable here. Pick a tight end for Seattle. Which one do you go with? Disley's been playing more snaps. More routes have been a higher route percentage has been done by Noah Fant. Disley's been finding the end zone. Fant had the targets last week. Arizona's allowing the most fantasy points to the tight end position. So,
Disley scoring the touchdowns.
I know.
So, I think they're both DFS viable in tournaments only.
I had to start Fant this week in seasonal because Hawkinson was on the bye week. So,
he hasn't been terrible. 6+ fantasy. Look, at this point, if you don't have Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews and you're getting 6 fantasy points from your tight end spot, you're feeling good. Right. You're feeling good just because of how volatile the position has been. I might just lean Disley. We've seen more upside. I think he has a very low floor, but they're running a lot of 2 tight end sets. They're both on the field. I'll go Disley, but they're both fine just considering how bad Arizona is at defending the position.
Yep, I agree with you there. A couple other questions we got going on over at YouTube right now. Would you start the Bills defense today? They've been really good, but this is a tough matchup against Kansas City.
I'd probably look to go a different route if I could. That's a tough spot, man. That's a tough spot.
It is a tough spot. Gallup or Pierce in a full PPR?
I'll go Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce over Michael Gallup.
Yeah, I mean, Eagles secondary has just been shutting down the
ball hawks. They're ball hawks.
They're so tough. This is, I don't really think this is a question, but it's been asked. So Justin Herbert or Kenny Pickett today?
Justin Herbert.
Yeah, you play Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. You're really never benching Justin Herbert.
You're almost never playing Kenny Pickett. So it was pretty easy there. Anyways, Ertz, Kirk, Kamara. Oh, this is a trade question, I guess. Would you trade Ertz, Kirk, and Kamara for Andrews and Deebo Samuel?
I would. I mean, you have a distinct advantage at the tight end position for the rest of the year. Ertz, as we just talked about, perfect segue into this question. D-Hop's back next week. Like, that volume may not be there for Ertz, and Deebo Samuel, we know, is as big of a home run threat as
me. Like, what is your running backs look like after Alvin Kamara, right? Like, that's,
yeah, I guess that's a good
I guess
point
if you were smart, right? Like, if you just picked up Kenneth Walker and like Daryl Henderson off your waiver wire, like, yeah, go trade Alvin Kamara. Like, you just picked up whoever you want for the season, right? Like, you're good to go. Malcolm Brown or Sky Moore today could also start Juwan Johnson. It's a tight end premium. And
I think it's Juwan, dude.
I think you're playing Juwan Johnson though.
I think you are.
Brown. I don't think.
No.
I don't think.
No. I think it's Juwan Johnson. Listen, the routes have been there. There's been somewhat of a rapport with Andy Dalton. I mean, both definitely worked together in practice. 16 routes for Juwan Johnson last week. They only dropped back to pass 28 times. The leader in routes was Traquan Smith and Marquez with 23. So right. Juwan Johnson was only 7 snaps behind. Tight end premium too.
Yeah.
Give me Juwan Johnson though.
I agree. They have nobody else to catch football. So. Stevenson or Eno Benjamin today? I'm going Stevenson.
Yeah, Steven season.
Yep. Full PPR, Eno Benjamin or CD Lamb?
It's very hard, even with Cooper Rush, to bench CD Lamb. He's still the only receiver in the league with 8+ targets every game this year. We just saw the report from Rap Sheet that they said Eno Benjamin's going to get all the carries. CD dealing with the injury. I don't know, John. What do you think?
Yeah, you probably this is probably the spot where again, tough matchup against the secondary against Philly, right? So if he's not 100%, I don't like it anymore. So
it's so tough benching. It's so tough benching CD though.
I know. We always say play your studs, but if he's not 100% going up against the best secondary in the league, take guaranteed touches. Gallup, Pierce, or Malcolm Brown in PPR. Pierce for me. Superflex, start Mariota or play Jacoby Myers or Brandon Ayuk instead.
I'm going
Jacoby Myers. So.
I was gonna say I'm probably go. I mean, hey, Jacoby Myers, pretty good quarterback himself. We might see a Jacoby Myers throw.
We could. We could see
that.
Lazard, Eno, or J. Rob in a non-PPR.
Eno Benjamin.
Yeah, I gotta get you. Pollard or Myers in a flex half PPR. Gonna go Myers there.
Jacoby Myers.
Yep. Pick 2: Dalvin Cook, Kenneth Walker, or Breece Hall. That's where we're at now, huh? We're not sure if we're playing Dalvin Cook.
Oh my! He had 2 tugs last week, man. We're unfortunately benching Breece Hall on that.
Yeah, dude, I love Breece Hall though.
I know, but okay, then all right, John, bench Dalvin Cook.
Go
bench Dalvin Cook, John.
Bench whoever your flex is, I guess, and play all 3 running backs if you can. That's how I would go. That's how I would go about that. Panthers, Rams. Rams are giving 10 to 41.5 game total. We've talked about it. No Cam Akers, PJ Walker in, DJ Moore. Rams offense, though, has been just abysmal. Panthers defense expected to be one of the higher roster defenses in DFS. How are you approaching this game from a fantasy perspective?
So, I mean, based on bye weeks, like I have Jared Goff in a league, the league that you and I are in. I picked him up off waivers. I'm starting Matt Stafford. It's a decent matchup for him. It's an exploitable matchup for him. I think there is actually multiple touchdown upside, even though like we haven't seen it from Matt Stafford this year. So I'm okay playing Matt Stafford. We're starting Daryl Henderson in pretty much wherever we can. I think he's clear cut, like a top end RB2. He's going to
I
receive.
wonder if in DFS, not to cut you off, I apologize. If Ramondre Stevenson now isn't going to be a highly rostered running back because all of this running back value is now opening up. Like I understand what maybe our draft percentage forecaster looks like, but if now like Henderson and Jackson and, we already had, Benjamin, like, would you even spend the $6K on Ramondre or just save the $1,000 and pay up at tight end, pay up at wide receiver, pay up at quarterback now? Like they just gave you two more very valuable 5K running backs to put in your lineup today.
Good luck playing cash games is what I have to say first, because figure out which running backs of those bunch you're gonna. I mean, it's a good matchup, man, for Ramondre. Like, I mean, Cleveland is getting absolutely lit up on the ground. I will not be pivoting away from Ramondre Stevenson. I understand like the theory behind it. But I mean, Cleveland, 5th most yards in football to the running back position. 4th, if you want to exclude the Bears because they've played a game more. They've allowed 6 touchdowns to the running back position. They haven't been that great against running backs coming out of the backfield, too. I don't see a way you pivot away from Ramondre and Cash, barring Damien Harris's magical comeback with the hammy, right? But I get your logic. I mean, it's a good matchup for Daryl Henderson too. 5,100 on DraftKings is a tremendous price tag, and on FanDuel 57. What is Ramondre on FanDuel?
I think it's 72.
75. Okay, maybe it's more of a question on FanDuel, right? Where Daryl Henderson is, you save $1,500 as opposed to just $1,000 on DraftKings. But I love Daryl Henderson on DraftKings 251, but hard time benching Ramondre in the spot he's in.
Yeah, it's so tough. I know that's just going to be some of the more popular questions that are going to be asked today.
Yep.
And again, stick with the Bettor Sports Network all day long. We have you covered coming up after us from 11 to 1. We have pre-gaming with Front Yard Fantasy with Simon, Joey, and JL. From 1 to 5, we have Better Zone with Corey, Adam, and Tom, where during halftime of the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills game, they're going to be giving away an autographed Marv Levy Buffalo Bills jersey. The only way to be eligible to win that jersey is you got to go to the iTunes store, go to the Google Play Store, download the Bettor Sports Network app, sign up, click join show, and then during halftime, they're going to give you the number. They're going to tell you to call in. Whatever number caller they decide is going to be winning that autographed Marv Levy Buffalo Bills jersey. So I got to go ahead, stick with the Better Zone Network, stick with the Bettor Sports Network all day long and be part of what we have covering throughout the rest of today. Again, some of the top stories, and we'll get the full inactives in the next hour there with Front Yard Fantasy, but no Jonathan Taylor today, no Cam Akers, no Michael Thomas, no Jarvis Landry. Unlikely to see Chris Olave there as well. No Nyheim Hines, no Kenny Golladay, no Kadarius Toney today. Some of the top players when it comes to fantasy football. No Pat Freiermuth. Tua is out. Bridgewater's the backup. Skylar Thompson is your quarterback in Miami for today. So again, as any more news breaks, James and I will have it for you. Bills Chiefs, like we've talked about, it's the big one of the day. 53.5 game total, 2.5 point spread. What do we got?
Play everybody and don't look back, right? I mean, what is the downside of playing anybody in this game? It could be the AFC Championship preview. We saw how great of a game it was last year. Both offenses look tremendous. Josh Allen is going to light things up in this game. I think the Patrick Mahomes thing is a little interesting because you mentioned earlier today how good Buffalo's defense has been. But can that defense hold up against Patrick Mahomes, who, has 3 games in which he has 3+ touchdowns. He's coming off 292 yards in prime time and a win. We know Patrick Mahomes is pretty good with the legs too. In terms of running backs, you and I had a lengthy discussion on the DFS pod this week about one Devin Singletary. Someone in one of our chats called him Single Tutty, which is what he has this year, just one touchdown. But I think he's very much in play. If you look at the snap share that Devin Singletary has when games are competitive, it's tremendous. 70 plus in all 3 games. In blowouts, we see James Cook. We don't fully expect that to be the case. So I'm starting Devin Singletary with confidence this week. Same with Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yep.
Very much could have had 12 fantasy points if that touchdown isn't reversed, right? Turns into a Travis Kelce touchdown. Edwards-Helaire has 1 million touchdowns already this year. I think he's in play. And then receivers, you're starting Diggs, you're starting Gabe Davis. We've been answering questions all day about Juju Smith-Schuster. We're starting him. 2 guys we haven't, though, John.
Yeah.
Valdez-Scantling, who you and I really like in DFS this week, and Isaiah McKenzie, who's cleared protocol, and he's going to be in. I like both those guys in deeper formatted leagues.
Yeah.
And I like them both in DFS. Probably McKenzie a little less because I don't love the 5K price tag. But, dude, Valdez-Scantling, 4,500 on DraftKings is a really tasty price tag.
Yeah, it is. And, Howard Bender has Mecole Hardman, I think in either his dartboard or his playbook today. As sort of like a pivot off of that, right? Like everybody's looking at MVS. You see the target share. Because this game is going to be so highly consolidated with rostership, right? You're trying to find ways to get exposure, but also be different. It's almost like you play it like a showdown slate, right? Where it's like, who's the guy that that nobody else is going to be on that scores that touchdown to get you over the top? And we know that Hardman can be a big play guy. We know that Mahomes is likely going to have to throw a ton in this game. If Mecole Hardman's going to be 5% rostered and Kelce and Valdez-Scantling and Juju are going to be 15, 20% rostered, then yeah, like if Mecole Hardman ends up being the guy to score or have that big catch, or he doesn't even need the volume. If he gives you 2 for 70 in a score today and 13 fantasy points, that's going to be enough to separate you if everybody else is playing Juju or MVS and they don't have that production. So if you're making multiple lineups and you're getting full exposure to this game, you definitely want different pieces of this spot to build those lineups. So Hardman could be interesting, but yeah, you and I are definitely in on MVS today.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me, I think, to really love Hardman. I completely understand the play. But when you look at like how Kansas City is distributing their routes and who's on the field and who's not, it is all Juju and MVS. They're playing every snap. They are running every route. Last week against the Raiders, 45 routes run for Juju, 44 for Valdez-Scantling. That's one less than Travis Kelce. Where Hardman 23 routes is good, but like he's on the field for 22 and 23 routes less than Valdez-Scantling and Juju respectively. Like I want the guys on the field more, and Hardman is a big play guy, and that could be in play today and in a GPP, that's fine. But I don't know, man. If Valdez-Scantling is the clear-cut receiver when they're in 2 receiver sets with Juju, and I just prefer them over Hardman personally.
Yep, I agree with you there as well here. So getting maybe another narrative tweet here. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow coming off of the team bus wearing the Jamar Chase LSU jersey. So
oh no,
I'm just throwing it out there.
No.
If Joe Burrow's out here wearing the Jamar Chase national championship LSU jersey,
where's the ball going, John? Where's the ball going today, John?
It seems like it's probably going to be going to Jamar Chase. Again, if you're building some lineups, you probably want a little exposure to that Saints Bengals game, more so the Bengals side of that matchup there today. A couple more questions here, James. We'll try to get through them. A couple more minutes left in the show, but that doesn't mean you leave the Bettor Sports Network. We have Front Yard Fantasy coming up after us, 11 to 1, Bettor Zone from 1 to 5, then again from 5 to 8. So stick with the channel all day long. Download the app at iTunes, Google Play Store, Bettor Sports Network app. Sign up, join the show. A couple questions here to close this out. Al-Lazard, Benjamin, or J-Rob? Did I ask that one yet? I forget.
Yeah.
Did we go Eno? I think we went Eno there, right? Non-PPR, though. We went non-PPR.
I'm still going to go Eno. The report is that he's going to get all the carries.
Right. All right, we did do this one because the Dalvin Cook one was after that. Let's see. Highest ceiling play: Boone, Callaway, Slayton, Warren, Wandale, or Lindsey?
Highest upside play?
Yeah. Is it Wandale?
I would say he feels safer to me than like Slayton, because Slayton has like the big play upside.
It's got to be him or Callaway, probably, right?
I would say Callaway, just based on he is literally going to be their wide receiver 1 today. I'll go Callaway, and I think Wandale's probably the safest of the bunch of that crew.
Yeah, I agree with you there as well. Let's see. We have Ed in chat. Big Bun wants to know if we have any underdog pick and plays. James, I don't know if you want to pull up underdog quickly, see if we get any pick and plays. For prize picks, though, Ed, I did the overs on Jeff Wilson rushing and over Mike Evans receiving yardage. If the numbers are comparable there, I went in that direction. Benjamin or Stevenson. I think we answered this one, but I think we're going to go Stevenson today.
Stevenson for sure.
Yep. Would you drop Curtis Samuel for Juju Smith-Schuster?
I mean, if you need to drop Curtis Samuel for Juju Smith-Schuster, I guess that's fine. I like Curtis Samuel, but I guess the question is,
Carson Wentz is out. But
who's getting the ball?
What's the difference between Heineke and Wentz, really? Like, is there a huge difference between the two that they play? Like,
I mean, I think Wentz is a madman. Like, does not care about the football. Like, will throw into any coverage and thinks that he can like fit it. But he's still like pretty good in fantasy. Like outside of last week where he had the knee, the arm, he had the shoulder.
He was
ended
throwing
up with
blocks. Like,
dude, that was on Roquan. That was a block and a half. But like. I guess you can. Like, you're using Juju today, it's fine. If Juju has 8+ targets in 3 straight games, I think that's pretty viable.
Dion Jackson or Devin Duvernay and a half PPR?
Dion Jackson.
Kittle, Henderson at flex today?
Henderson.
Full PPR, Mixon or Jeff Wilson today?
That is a good question. I love Jeff Wilson. I'm
probably
not benching Joe Mixon, but
I mean, if you got to pick one, I think I'm going to go Wilson.
All right, I'll take the Wilson experience and go with you and take Wilson. It's very close though. It's hard to bench Joe Mixon.
It is. I agree with you, but I think I'm going to go Wilson here. Flex PPR: Melvin Gordon, Henderson, Jacoby Myers, or Pickens.
That's a tough question.
Myers or Henderson, right?
I think it's Henderson slightly over Myers.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to go there as well. Andrews or Evans today? Must be a DFS question.
Andrews or Evans? I'll go Evans. I mean, this could be like a 400-yard game for Tom Brady. So
it could be.
I'll go Mike Evans, but it's very close. They're both.
And we'll finish off questions today with a trade question. A big trade. Actually, we have a start set. Isaiah McKenzie, Tyler Algier, Rashad White, Romeo Dubs. Quick.
Dubs.
Right.
Dubs.
Stick with the Game Day Playbook. Stick with Bettor Sports Network. Front Yard Fantasy after this. This is the Game Day Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm.